Внимание! Активирована программа «Радиоактивный пепел».
Red alert in a Soviet-style nuclear bunker, where a couple of Russians are racing to prevent a catastrophic strike on the United States.
Nuclear bombs will be launched in 1 hour.
The aim of the quest, the latest gaming craze in Moscow, is to find the nuclear launch codes and deactivate a hidden red button that's already been pressed by a mad Russian general. Of course, it's complete fantasy, but amid the current tensions with Russia, it all feels a little unsettling.
Are you worried that something like this could happen in real life?
Actually, I'm not. No, I'm not thinking about it.
I'm worried because it's very stupid information for both sides. And I know that normal people in all over the world, they don't want any war.
Now I know that in school in Russia, they tell to the children the same, that our main enemy is the US, and it sounds ridiculous for me, and I'm totally sure that war is impossible.
But not all Russians agree. National television has been broadcasting a mass training exercise involving up to 40 million people across the country to prepare responses, says the government, for a chemical or nuclear attack. It's the biggest rehearsal of its kind since the collapse of the Soviet Union and suggests the Kremlin at least wants Russians to take the threat of war very seriously. Of course, all-out conflict between Russia and the West remains highly unlikely. The principle of mutually assured destruction still holds, just like it did during the Cold War. But with tensions growing over Syria, Ukraine and the Baltic states, analysts say a small risk of contact, misunderstanding and escalation between the nuclear superpowers has become very real. And it's a risk the Kremlin seems keen to spotlight, releasing details of its latest intercontinental ballistic missile being added to its nuclear arsenal. The Satan II, as it's known, will be one of the world's most destructive weapons, guaranteeing Russia's place as a top nuclear power. State television has also upped its hardline rhetoric. In its flagship current affairs show, Russia's top state news anchor, dubbed by critics as the Kremlin's propaganda-in-chief, recently issued a stark warning of global war if, for instance, Russian and US forces clash in Syria. Brutish behaviour towards Russia, declared Dmitry Kiselov, could have nuclear dimensions. It is an apocalyptic vision that adds a further sense of realism to the fantasy quest being acted out by gamers in Moscow. This time, a Cold War nuclear holocaust is averted. Hopefully one in the real world will be too.
A remarkable discovery in Jerusalem tonight. Researchers uncovering a stone burial slab, which many now believe held the body of Jesus after his death. National Geographic says it was hidden by marble since at least 1555 AD.
A fascinating find in Jerusalem for archaeologists, faithful pilgrims, and historians to ponder the possible resting place of Jesus' body. A restoration team working in Jerusalem says that they think they've found what they believe is the original rock surface where Jesus' body was laid following his crucifixion. Experts removed a marble slab, and they were surprised to find another marble slab featuring a small etching of a cross believed to be from the 12th century. A new ground radar shows cave walls are in fact standing behind other marble panels in that chamber. Israel's Antiques Authority has only granted workers 60 hours to complete their work.
Musuni Island off the northern coast of India is in danger of sinking and completely disappearing in the next 10 years. It's often hit by tidal waves and raging floods that have been growing in frequency and intensity. The resulting floods have destroyed about 3/4 of the land on the island. The floods also bring salt water that makes farming impossible. Thousands of people have been left homeless. As if that's not bad enough, there are plans to build a huge coal-friendly power plant in nearby Bangladesh. The UN is urging that work on the power plant be halted. They say the plant could cause pollution and damage mangrove forests that serve as a barrier against storm surges and cyclones, which would make things even worse for Musini.
A cholera outbreak in Yemen is spreading rapidly, adding to the already grim humanitarian situation in the country. Although many cases can be treated by rehydration, 18 months of war has left the country with few functioning medical facilities and clean water supplies.
Our latest figures I got this morning is that the number of cases is increasing and that there are, as of 27th of October, 1,410 suspected cholera cases in 10 out of Yemen's 23 governorates.
On top of the outbreak, the UN estimates 370,000 children are at risk of acute malnutrition, which requires urgent treatment.
Nearly 10,000 deaths of children under 5 years may have occurred due to decline in healthcare, this crumbling health system. 600 health facilities have stopped working, and a fifth of all vaccination centers and district vaccine stores remain closed.
The UN's World Food Programme said it had provided food for 3 million people every month since February, but resources are running out. The agency is calling for more than 200 million euros to provide food for the millions who go hungry in Yemen every day.
All right, time now is 5:26. Some alarming news this morning. More than half of the world's wildlife has been lost since 1970.
A new report released by the World Wildlife Fund says global populations of animals have declined 58% between 1970 and 2012. Animals living in lakes, rivers, and freshwater streams across the world have been hit hardest, with an 81% population decline. That's incredible. Human behavior, things like climate change and pollution, are part of the problem, but the two top factors researchers say are habitat loss and poaching.
As our food systems require more space, we lose forests to soybean or acacia or oil palm and things like that, or we are fishing out our oceans of all the fish.
The report found that without immediate intervention, global wildlife populations could drop 2/3 by the year 2020.
The Virginia transgender bathroom rights case is now officially going to be debated by the Supreme Court. The case revolves around how school board members in Virginia do not want to allow a transgender teenager to use the bathroom he identifies with, but rather the bathroom of his assigned birth. Sharon Minter, the legal director of the National Center for Lesbian Rights, stated, "Obviously, for transgender people, the stakes of this case are incredibly high. Whatever the court rules in Grimm may ensure that transgender people are accepted and included as equal members of our society, or it may relegate them to outsiders for decades to come."
The jungle camp has been cleared of refugees, but if you take a ride on the metro in Paris, you can see what's rising in its place. The tents around Stalingrad Square in the northeast of the capital are spreading so rapidly the camp now has 3 separate suburbs: Sudanese, Eritrean, and Afghan.
The police have tried to destroy this camp more than 20 times, but it still keeps growing. And the word is that the refugees from Calais are on their way here.
A Christian charity has taken over responsibility for feeding them. With the cold winter nights closing in, survival on the streets will be impossible without hot food.
We think that because of the dismantling of the jungle camp, in the last 3 days we have many more people. As you can see, there are many more tents.
Families with babies and young children are living on the pavements here. Many of them have escaped from Darfur. All of them have harrowing personal stories. I spoke to a young business graduate from Sudan. He reached Italy after being rescued in the Mediterranean, adrift for 5 days. He didn't want to show his face.
I am one of the victims of the war. I have suffered the war. My family suffered the war, is still suffering the war. You know, my family is scattered.
These refugees know they might be scattered by the French police at any time. They know that more desperate families might soon join them. They're dreaming of a future, a home, some form of security. Many still want to reach Britain. It's a hope they're holding on to. David Chater, Al Jazeera, Paris.
Campaign signs being destroyed and stolen across southwest Florida. In Cape Coral, we've seen Trump signs spray painted with swastikas. One guy even recorded himself running over a Trump sign.
In Collier County, a Trump sign torn down and stuffed in a mailbox. You see deputies here dusting it for fingerprints. And today in Charlotte County, a woman says her signs disappeared after someone actually knocked on her door and called her out for supporting Hillary Clinton.
And I was totally appalled. I would never have the guts to go up to somebody else's privacy of somebody else's home and accost them in that way.
Another woman says she had 5 signs stolen, so she put up this handmade one announcing the thefts to everyone. Today, NBC2's Tim Ronca looks at the signs disappearing in Charlotte County.
Terry DeSimone can't leave her Hillary Clinton signs up anymore, bringing them in each night.
It just kind of bothers me that people have the nerve to come right up in your yard and steal something off your property.
She's not alone. At least 2 other neighbors in Rotunda keep having to replace their signs as well.
Is this what people are wanting to do now? Is this what America's all about?
Marianne DJ even had someone come to her door and say,
"Why are you voting for that?" And she pointed to my sign. And I was totally appalled.
The thefts have become so bad that one of the victims actually put up this sign on their property saying that 5 signs have been stolen, but that she still will support Hillary Clinton. One of the victims reached out to the Northport Democrats for help, who say the thefts can be frustrating.
My wife actually brought her another sign the next morning. That's been stolen. It gets expensive after a while, on top of the frustration.
The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office is now looking into this. But in the meantime, neighbors say they'll still show their support.
But I still feel that I have the right to put out my beliefs in front of my home.
In Charlotte County, Tim Ronca, NBC2.
Damaged and stolen campaign signs are not just a problem here in Southwest Florida. Take a look at this video from Wisconsin. Home surveillance catching a guy, yep, he's in his underwear, taking a blowtorch to a Trump sign. And then you see 2 people walk up to him, see what he's doing, and then they actually give him a fist pump. An Oregon man named Brian Trump is being harassed for having his license plate. He says most people think he's making a political statement. He's had the plates for about 9 years, though, and never had a problem until recently. He says people yell at him, honk, even tailgate him.
They started screaming obscenities at me and then swerving their vehicle into my lane, trying to run me off the road. Just really want people to treat each other a little bit nicer, and that's not someone's fault for having the last name.
If you're wondering who Brian Trump supports, he wouldn't say, and to him it doesn't matter. He says he plans to add a sticker to his car saying, "It's my last name, and I've got better hair."
A day after hundreds clashed with police on property owned by Energy Transfer Partners in North Dakota, protesters and members of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe say they plan to press forward with the fight that's been brewing for months. On Thursday, protesters hurled verbal assaults at officers.
I've been living in a sleeping bag of tent for 3 months, waiting for this day.
Some cursing, others chanting, "Hands up, don't shoot." Molotov cocktails were thrown, cars and tires set on fire, and according to local authorities, one woman fired 3 shots at officers. Although nobody was hurt, authorities say there's still the potential for more violence.
If you would scope out social media, you would see on there the numerous death threats that are out there for law enforcement for being involved in here, just simply for doing our job. Many of them are posing in pictures holding automatic rifles, suggesting that they're gonna come to Standing Rock, come to this area, and shoot law enforcement officers. That's extremely concerning to us, and we need to take those threats seriously.
More than 400 protesters have been arrested in recent months near the Dakota Access Oil Pipeline, which runs through 4 states. The project costs $3.8 billion, and when finished will pump up to 570,000 barrels of oil a day. A major economic boom, say supporters. But critics maintain the pipeline, which runs near tribal land, will ruin ancient sites and could pollute the water. Even going as far to protest inside Hillary Clinton's campaign headquarters in Brooklyn on Thursday. In September, a federal judge gave the project the green light after the tribe challenged in court. The tribe now asking the Department of Justice to step in to, quote, ensure protection of First Amendment rights and the safety of thousands, and plans to regroup protesters on nearby federal land. Members of law enforcement on the ground in North Dakota say they respect everyone's right to protest, but not when they're destroying property, trespassing, or trying to hurt officers.
Another natural disaster nightmare for central Italy. Just 2 months after an earthquake claimed nearly 300 lives, new tremors nearby have caused utter devastation. Last night's twin earthquakes, 2 hours apart, are not being blamed directly for any deaths, but a number of mostly minor injuries have been reported. As solidarity steps up for those in need, we spoke to the mayor of Visso at the center of the quake zone.
We've focused on people's fundamental needs: food, water, toilets. We're organising 2 temporary kitchens, but this evening there will be a problem as to where people will sleep. If we can't do any better, we'll put up tents. We've started checking the destruction, which is significant because the main administrative centre of the area was very heavily damaged, as well as the neighbouring communities.
The earthquakes, measured at up to 5.5, then 6.1 magnitude, were followed by aftershocks. Authorities say the fact the first tremor was weaker than the second probably saved lives, as most people had already left their homes.
Last night, after the quake, there was a power cut and a storm with heavy rain. We tried to organise ourselves so as to all assemble in one square. We had to go sector by sector to see if anyone was in difficulty. Fortunately, no one was injured, no one got hurt.
Hundreds of years of history were destroyed with the fall of the ancient San Salvatore church, another loss for this rural area so sorely tested in recent weeks.
When Islamic State militants retreated from Kayara near Mosul in August, they set fire to the oil wells. Since then, the smoke has hung over the northern Iraqi town, turning everything black, including the sheep. Efforts to put out the fires have failed, and Islamic State have continuously shelled the area.
According to the Pentagon, a Russian fighter jet and a U.S. military plane flew dangerously close to each other while flying over Syria earlier this month. U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General Jeffrey Harrigan, commander of U.S. air operations across the Middle East, characterized the incident as a near miss. Both planes were flying at hundreds of miles an hour with their lights off on the night of October 17th. The U.S. military plane came within less than half a mile of the Russian jet. According to the U.S. military officials, it was close enough to be in the jet wash of the Russian plane. The near miss underlines how the intensifying conflict in Syria could make deepening tensions between the United States and Russia over Russia's role in the Syrian war even worse.
Breaking overnight, it could be the first creepy clown attack here in San Diego. A man says he was stabbed in the college area by 4 clowns. A man told police he was skateboarding last night when he got into an argument with someone across the street. He skated away. That's when he says 4 people in clown costumes, similar to the ones that you see on your screen, attacked him. He was stabbed in the cheek, the shoulder, and the stomach. He is expected to be okay. Police are still investigating this.
Well, Fox Alert now. Hillary Clinton's email scandal is making news yet again. The FBI says it's reopening the investigation into her use of a private email server. Russ joins us now with more information. This investigation tied to another embarrassing scandal that really rocked the Clinton campaign.
Yeah, that's right, Sinead. Fox News reports that the investigation into Anthony Weiner's sexting scandal turned up new emails related to the Clinton email server investigation. Weiner is married to Hillary Clinton's closest aide, Huma Abedin. They are estranged now, of course. He is currently being investigated over claims that he sexted an underage girl. And in a letter to Congress, FBI Director James Comey confirms there are new emails that are, quote, pertinent to this investigation. He goes on to say they must be assessed for their importance and that no one can say at this point if the emails are, quote, significant. Clinton has not yet responded to news of this new investigation. Donald Trump, though, was quick to give the news to his supporters.
The FBI and the Department of Justice are now willing to have the courage to right the horrible mistake. We must not let her take her criminal scheme into the Oval Office.
Any reaction to the FBI investigation?
Well, Clinton's campaign chair says the FBI director owes it to the American people to provide more details immediately. And he's confident this new investigation will not change anything that's happened so far. In a statement, House Speaker Paul Ryan said Clinton has, quote, nobody but herself to blame So you can imagine there's going to be a lot of talk and new revelations about this scandal in the next 11 days leading up to the election.